And we welcome you here. And clearly we want to have a huge infrastructure program that opens up in our country. We need it desperately. But the way I look at the formula in the Trump proposal is that it takes $200 billion in existing federal infrastructure money, and then it repackages the same money as a new program. And then step two, it flips the formula from 80% coming from the federal government and 20% from local and state government to 20% coming from the federal government, and 80% that would come from the state and local governments. And you know, maybe it's like the miracle of the loaves and fishes. You know, it did work 2,000 years ago, but I just don't think it's going to work here, where the local governments can come up with 80% of the money when the reason that we need national infrastructure bills is that they need the help and they need the federal government to come in. And my fear is, I'll be honest with you, I just think that Wall Street will say, well, we'll come in and help, but they're going to have to be paid. And that's going to be tolls that they're going to want to impose on drivers, on communities, as a way of getting paid. That's how Wall Street operates. And so it just changes the relationship as a result between the infrastructure in our country and ordinary citizens. And I just think that they're going to wind up being tipped upside down and having money shaken out of their pockets ultimately to pay for infrastructure that historically, under the 80 federal fund, 20 local, was subsidized by the government in order to make sure that the roads are there for everyone. So I have a big problem with the math. I just don't think it's going to work. And I agree that when Wharton and the Heritage Foundation agree upon something, and they're agreeing with Ed Markey, that there's new recombinant political DNA that's out there that requires a better explanation of how these projects will get built. Now, I do know that Wall Street would love to have the National Environmental Policy Act to just be gutted, to be watered down dramatically, and that's what this infrastructure proposal does. It takes the Constitution of the Environment for the last 50 years, the National Environmental Policy Act, and it makes some fundamental changes. Number one, it would cut the amount of time that the public has to sue over bad projects from 6 years down to 150 days. Now, that would be great if you want to be a Wall Street firm and get a quick return on your investment, but if you're a community and all of a sudden you hear there's a brand new road coming through a whole section of town, and you're told you have 150 days to mount a battle against a Wall Street law firm, you know, that is just going to truncate your rights, well, that's going to be, I think, something that is very disastrous for local communities all across the country. And secondly, the bill also expands the ability of agencies to simply decide that certain types of projects have no environmental harm at all. The agency decides it, and it's just a single agency, by the way. One agency would make the decision. Secretary Zinke would be able to decide that pipelines can go through parks, and the other agencies wouldn't be able to get into the middle of that. And similarly, the EPA would be truncated in their ability to be able to make decisions that were appealable, because the Secretary of Transportation would make all of these decisions, and the other agencies would not be involved. So I just have a problem with the formula, and I'd just like to give you a chance to respond to it, because that's the core of it. You know, the money isn't sufficient, and the environmental reviews are truncated.
I don't have
but whatever you could do, yeah.
But I would be more. But I think it's important to emphasize we want to do this on a bipartisan basis. So as we go forward, these are issues that you're concerned about. Let's talk about them.